Hello, welcome to Art Talk. I'm your host, Jim Tripp, in the spirit of art. Today our guest is Marcia Vasiloff. She's a stained glass artist. At the moment she's working for Foxwood Casinos doing all the stained glass at the casino. She's been well into it for 20, 21 years now. I'd like to have you meet Marcia now. Marcia, how you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Well, 20 years in stained glass, that's a long time.
Yes,
It's a lot of cuts.
Yeah, it sure is.
So, where did you come from? How did you get here from there?
Well, I graduated high school in 1970 and went to medical assistant school and graduated.
So you were a nurse?
Medical assistant.
Medical assistant?
Yeah. And did my internship in New Haven and heard that I came back to Connecticut and there weren't, medical assisting at that point was a new career, so there weren't a lot of openings. So I heard this glass factory in Old Saybrook was hiring, and I thought, well, I'll go there for the summer and see how I like it and just make some money, and that way I could get a job, you know, at a hospital or doctor's office without being pressured when I really liked. So I went over there, and I just really fell into it. I loved it, and I've been doing it ever since.
You just changed careers just like that? Just
yes.
A whim.
Yep.
So what did you start off making? I see you have beautiful works all over, and we're going to see more.
With myself or at the glass factory?
Well, what did you do at the glass factory?
At the glass factory, it was a little different because they had us in different stations, and I was about 6 months in the coppering department where you wrap the copper tape around the pieces of glass.
And just the basics, all
Right.
the basics first.
Mm-hmm.
And that started you into your creative. When did you start doing creative windows?
When we started our own business, probably 1975, 1976.
Now, it's your husband. You started your business with your
Yes.
husband.
Yes.
And Tony.
Yeah, my husband, my late husband was Tony Vasiloff. We met at Chapman House and ended up falling in love and getting married and starting our own business and working together for 21 years.
And family.
Yes, I have 2 kids, my son Jesse, who is 14, and my daughter Shauna, who is 10.
So it must have been a tough round.
Yeah.
The arts and a family, it's not an easy...
It's a juggling act, and you have all these balls, and you can't drop any.
Now, you do lamps. You do a number of different works.
Yeah,
I've seen
probably
so many.
have 25 different styles of lamps, ranging in all different diameters and styles, from contemporary to Art Nouveau, Victorian styles, and all different kinds of windows. People come to us with different themes that they want done: flowers, birds, school buses, roosters, all different types of
So they actually come in with their own drawings?
Sometimes with their own drawings, and it's very helpful when they do, because then they're showing you what they want instead of saying, you know, I'm just going to leave it up to you, you're the artist.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it very difficult because you end up doing 10 or 15, 20 different drawings before you can please people.
Hard to please people.
Hard to please
Commission
people.
work.
Yes.
So it's easier just doing the windows and putting them out not the window, but the lampshades.
The lamps. Well, the lamps, we always looked as what kept us alive, but the windows is the true art. One-of-a-kind pieces, it's something you can really look at when you're finished and go, wow, that's beautiful. The lamps, you know, you see 10, 20, 50, 500. We've made 5,000 of certain styles, and you lose that feeling.
You prefer the art
yes.
of it better.
Yes.
Okay, well, we have a clip of your studio, you working
Great.
along and showing all kinds of different techniques. And, well, your studio is in Old Lyme.
Yes.
And you've been there how long?
Since 1976.
Well, let's take a trip down to your studio.
Okay, let's do that.
All right.
going to start by cutting out a pattern. This is the first step in making a stained glass window or a stained glass lampshade. And what you do is you draw your pattern onto poster board of a flower or a vine or whatever it is you want to make, and blacken in the lines so you can cut with your pattern shears, which are a special pair of scissors that allow you to cut off enough black so that when the window fits back together, once it's copper taped, the window won't grow in size, that it will fit the dimensions that you need it to be. And you can actually see the piece of the poster board that it cuts out is a very thin line, but that's the allowance for the copper tape. You can see it when you hold the window up, the poster board up. You try to cut as evenly as you can without any jagged edges, because this is going to be the pattern that you lay on your piece of glass to trace. And you end up with a piece that looks like that. And now we're going to go on to the next step. Now we're going to take the pattern and actually cut out a piece of glass. And the first thing I want to show you is the strip cutter, which is a cutting wheel that's attached to an adjustable arm that you can slide up and down to be able to cut a straight line on the glass. And the first thing you want to do is approximately measure the distance of the piece so you don't waste a lot of glass. And you're going to bring it to the top of the glass and score the glass from the top to the bottom. Okay, and then you're going to pick the glass up, and you can lightly tap underneath to loosen the score up. And you end up with your sheet of glass cut to approximately the right size to draw your pattern onto the glass. And you're going to take a black pen and hold the pattern down real tightly so it doesn't slip, and trace around the outside of the pattern. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to hand cut this piece. I'm going to show you a couple different options. If you're going to do one piece or two pieces, you usually make the pattern and hand cut it. If you're going to make a series of lampshades, like 10, 15 different pieces, what we use is the Bilco cutting machine, which is an air-pressured cutting machine that you make templates out that allows you to cut a lot more pieces per hour and save time. So you're going to hold the cutter. This is a self-oiling cutter that has oil actually in the cutter itself. The other option is to use a glass cutter that you have to dip in oil. But the oil is a very important part because it oils the wheel and helps you get a very good score. Okay, so you're going to start at the edge of the glass and use very strong pressure, even pressure, around it. Okay. And it's very important, too, to wear safety glasses, so none of the glass chips pop up in your eyes, especially when you're breaking the pieces out. And you're going to break right along the score line. And kind of trim off the edge a little bit, all the little jagged pieces that are sticking out so you don't get cut. And you end up with your piece. Okay, now if you were going to go over to the cutting machine, I'll show you how that works. This is an air-pressured cutting machine that has templates made out of plexiglass or a tempered wood that you take your pattern and you drill out the hole and cut the hole out to the exact size. And then you run the roller around the inside. It's really a tracer is what it is. It's tracing your pattern and cutting your glass underneath. So you're going to take your piece of glass and move this bar up so you have a spot that it stops at. And tighten that down so the glass won't slip. Okay, and put your safety glasses back on. Okay, and then you pull the lever here, which allows the wheel to be pushed down by the air. And you hear the sound. And what that does is it just traces out the pattern, and you can do 2 or 3 at a time of the same pattern. And then you take your pliers and you turn it up again. And cut your pieces out. And then you end up with your finished piece of glass. Okay, now we're going to go on to the next step, which is copper taping the piece. Now we're going to copper tape the pieces. And the first thing to do would be to make sure that the pieces are clean, because we want to get the oil off so the copper tape sticks to the pieces. There's an adhesive backing on the copper tape itself that allows the pieces to stick. I'm going to wipe them off. You can take them and wash them in the sink with some soapy water if you really want them to stick well. And what we're going to do is wrap the pieces evenly. Get the same amount of copper tape on both sides. And you kind of feed the glass into the copper tape. And it's important not to start directly on the corner, because you're going to overlap the copper tape a little bit so it doesn't pull apart right there. After you wrap it, you're going to push it down, what I'm doing with my fingers, to really get it to bond. And sometimes I take a pen and really go over it again to smooth out all the wrinkles so the solder will flow over the copper tape. Okay, we're going to do two pieces because what it ends up doing is creating a U-channel, basically, that is going to be the structure for your piece that the solder adheres to. Solder will not just stick to glass. Okay. We use basically two different sizes of copper tape. We use a 3/16 size, which is thinner if you were working with a clear glass or a glue chip glass, and a 7/32 for thicker glasses or windows that need more support. It would give you a wider solder line. And also they make a copper tape that has a black backing where the adhesive is. If you're working with a clear glass like the glue chip or a plain window glass. So when you looked into the piece after it was soldered, you're going to see the black instead of the copper color, which would be very distracting. Okay, now we're going to go on to solder the piece. Okay, before we go on to soldering, I want to go back a little bit and hold the pieces of glass up and explain to you what I tried to explain coppering. When you take the pieces of glass to copper tape, you want to wrap the glass evenly on the front and the back. So you end up with really a channel, a lip around the glass where it's folded onto three sides, where it's going to come together and meet the other piece of glass so you can solder your line, both on the front and on the back. These two pieces are a part of a lamp that we're going to go to in a few minutes to show you how you would build the lamp. We're going to take a piece of solder. I just put a little flux onto the copper tape, which allows the solder to stick directly to the copper tape. Without the flux, the solder won't stick at all to the copper tape. And solder will not, again, stick to the glass at all. You can put solder onto the glass, and it doesn't matter what you do to it, the solder won't stick at all. It'll come right off. So that's why you need the copper tape to create the bond. So what you're going to do, you're going to take your solder and you're going to melt it with your iron and really drag a line as evenly as you can over the copper tape. And it will follow that copper tape because that's how you put it on the glass, in a nice straight line. Then you're going to flip it over and add a little more flux and do the back side of it. There's always two sides to everything you're doing, a front and a back, and both have to be done. And one thing else that's important to mention is it's very important to wear rubber gloves while you're working with solder. The solder's 60% tin and 40% lead, and the lead can go into the pores into your skin, and you have to be very concerned about lead poisoning. So the gloves create a protective covering that won't allow it into your body. Okay, now I'm going to go over to the soldering station where the lamp is and show you where these pieces would fit onto the lamp and how I would make a lampshade. We're going to talk a little bit about making a lamp. The two pieces we were working with earlier that we copper taped and we soldered would go on this lamp on the top trim. They're a different color, but you can see that they're the same shape. And the way I begin with this is each one of these pieces is a separate piece of glass where all the solder lines are. There's about 200 pieces in this lamp itself, all that have to be copper taped, all that have to be cut, all that have to be washed. And then what I do is there's 16 sections. You can see the section lines as they go down. Smaller at the top and they get wider at the bottom. And there's 16 of these that I take and I put in a wooden mold and I lay flat and I masking tape them together and then lay them over the mold underneath the shade here. And that allows me to get the shape I want. I do a lot of different styles of lamps and a lot of different shapes of lamps. And molds screw onto a flange onto the soldering fixture. And what you do is you tilt, the fixture tilts and it turns. And the lever goes down to hold the lamp in place. The reason for this is because the lamp has to be kept level at all times when you're soldering, so that when the solder's molten, it will harden in a nice, straight, even line. So as you're soldering along, you're going to be turning the fixture and soldering where all the copper tape joins. Okay, I also wanted to mention the big black exhaust fan behind me is very important too, to take your fumes out of the room while you're working, the fumes of the flux and the fumes of the solder. You have to be very cautious about the health hazards. We're also, when the lamp is finished, we use this little mold here to make up a crown, which you see on a lot of Tiffany lamps, sitting on the top. And what you do is you make up your crown and then solder it onto the top, and you put a little piece of brass channeling, brass banding around there to finish it off. And then you have a finished lamp. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about bending pieces of glass. I'm working on a bent window that you saw behind me that I'm doing for the casino right now, for the Foxwoods Casino. And this is one of the flowers. It's a dogwood window. And we're going to have the mic taken off while we're over by the kilns, so I won't be speaking, but you'll be able to see the procedure about bending the glass. The temperature of the kilns have to reach 1,500 degrees for glass to be able to bend. And it will sit in the kiln for approximately 5 minutes. And then you'll see me open it up and push the piece down with a poker to actually push the molten piece of glass, the slumped piece of glass, into the mold. So you get the shape, the curvature of each petal. And then you'll see me take it out of the bending kiln and put it in the annealing kiln, which ranges around 800 degrees, and I leave those pieces in overnight. The annealing kiln, what that does is it allows the temperature to go down slowly, so the glass will be tempered so it won't crack, especially when I reapply heat to it later on. And then what I do is take these finished flowers and the bent leaves and put them onto the window, solder them on to both sides of the window, so you'll have a three-dimensional stained glass window. Did my glove caught on fire?
Oh, that's it. Did clip it?
It's really molten.
Is it?
I think it's too hot. Yeah, it is. It melted totally. All right, you're going to have to, I'll just make believe.
No, I'm just going to do a close-up and fade out.
Okay. That's going to be hard. I got to get that out of there somehow. That's because it's got too hot.
Welcome back. This is Art Talk, and we're here with Marcia Vasiloff. We just saw her working in her studio. And I wanted to ask you, Marcia, that oven, it was so funny when we were filming that. You want to tell the people what happened?
Well, it took us probably an hour to film that whole segment, and the kilns were getting hotter and hotter. Usually I open and close the door and it stays between 12 and 1500 degrees. So it ended up being around 17 or 1800 degrees.
It was hot.
And I did not expect it to be that hot. And the piece, we really had a meltdown in the furnace, unexpectedly.
Little blob of glass.
Yeah.
That was funny. How long have you been bending glass?
I just started bending with this casino job. My late husband, the last casino job about a year and a half ago, he did all the bending. And so I've had to learn a lot in the last really year and a half. He did all the designing, all the cutting, and all the bending. And I did all the copper taping and the soldering and the bookkeeping. And
that's a fairly new thing, bending glass.
yes. There really aren't too many companies. Well, we used to make fruit shades years ago at Chapman House, and the fruit's bent, the apples and the pears. But I haven't seen a lot of work with the flowers and the leaves bent, you know, being wrapped around the pieces. It's uncommon.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
When you put it together, though.
Thanks.
And we'll see more of that as we go on. How fast can you actually put one of these together?
A lamp or
Yeah,
a
so
window.
we saw the lampshade there.
I make one lamp a day, and it probably
day.
takes probably 10 hours to make a lamp from beginning to end.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to take a station break right now.
Okay.
And then we'll come back and talk more about how you evolved in this.
Okay, great.
All right.
Art is a process that fills our lives. See it, enjoy it. This public service announcement is brought to you by the Griffis Art Center, New London, Connecticut.
Marcia, we were talking about bending glass. We're back, and that's where we left off. Do you plan on bending do you ever bend large pieces of glass?
I haven't. The casino has asked for some pieces bent almost like a vase for the wall, but I probably won't do that. You need a special size kiln, you need big ones, and I don't feel I'm that knowledgeable about things like that yet.
Do you plan on looking into it, or is it just a big, big job?
Eventually, I would like to bend panels of lamps so I can fit the pieces actually together, being bent. I think that would help me making things that are different.
Large, smooth
Yeah.
lamps.
Mhm.
Well, I noticed in your work that the lines are very fluid and move very gracefully. And that's more so, that's where I see the art.
Right.
Because you go to a craft fair or a certain place and you see very sharp, jagged work.
Yeah.
and your work really looked beautiful.
Thanks. I really have to attribute that to Tony. It was something he was known for. He just had the style. He was great with ribbons and winding leaves, and it's something I've been able to continue in my designing, which has been great. After 20 years of living and breathing it, it's become part of me.
Now the colored glass, how is it made? It's all different, deep, rich colors.
Mm-hmm. The glass comes from all different companies, and it comes in different sizes. Spectrum glass comes in about 2x4 foot sheets, and the colors, they come, the whole sheet of glass will be the same color.
Mm-hmm.
And like green glass is made with iron. Different minerals
Actually iron
make the color of the glass. Like red red and yellow is made with gold dust to get the color.
So buy red and yellow a lot.
Yeah, and red and yellow is expensive compared to other colors, and pinks. Yep.
Yeah, with gold dust in it.
Yep.
Did you ever go and watch them make the glass, or is
No,
there a place they do that around here?
There really isn't a place, to my knowledge, in this area. I know out in Chicago there used to be a place, and eventually that is something I would like to do.
You pull your glass in from all around the country
Yeah.
or world?
They make glass all around the world. I buy most of my glass from S.A. Benheim in New Jersey, which is really a place, it's a distributor of all different kinds of glass, and they've bent over backwards to help us with this casino job, getting things, right like that when we needed it.
You saw the huge bins of glass at your studio.
Yeah.
Ah, boy. And the way you worked with that glass, I'd be so afraid of cutting up my fingers. It just, every time you tapped that or smashed it, I was going, oh boy.
Yeah, this is new to me too, because I haven't cut the glass up to a year ago. After my husband died, I had to make a big decision whether I was going to go on in this business or go to something else. And I realized it was something I really loved, and I have some friends over in Westbrook, Keeling Company, Keeling Glass, that I became their cutting department. Lori and I were the cutting department, and I learned an awful lot over there, and they're great friends of mine.
Do you have how many people are you doing all these, now how many windows are you doing for the casino?
There's about 150 in phase 1, and I think 170 in phase 2.
Wow.
And I have one girl working with me, and I've subbed out some of the work to other companies just because of the time element involved.
And when they want them, they want them.
Yeah, the glass is really one of the last things to go in, and it's part of the decorating. And we have to wait for the steel structures. They're really laid into these steel structures, these openings that we screw into them and install them right into that, and it becomes part of the structure.
Do you actually install?
I helped install a 6.5-foot triangle a couple weeks ago. I went up there with my hard hat on and helped Bert, my partner.
It's a little different.
That was great.
Construction work.
Yep, that's great.
Well, that was very quick. You put the window in and they opened up the next day,
Yes.
right?
Yep,
That's
they called
how
me
fast
up.
they're building.
They called me up on a Tuesday and they said, stop everything. We have these 2 priority windows, this 6.5-foot triangle and a 4.5-foot circle. So I did the triangle, and one of the other companies did the circle, and Wednesday night we worked 23 hours straight, and
Long
it was
hours.
installed Thursday morning.
Well, this is one of the windows, right?
This is one of the 3Ds, yes.
Three-dimensional windows.
Yeah, they're being installed. There's 6 of those being installed in the entrance to the hotel, which isn't quite open yet.
Now this window, the actual 3D, this is flat on one side right now,
Right now, yes.
right? But there will be flowers right off the other side.
Yep,
and
because it's visible from both directions, and that way you can wrap the leaves around both sides and they just come popping out of everywhere.
I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but the white, is that a mother of pearl?
Yes, it's a white glass that has kind of a coating on that is iridized, which shows up almost like a gasoline effect in water, which makes it
Beautiful.
very
Yeah,
interesting.
beautiful glass. And then it looks like etched glass. How is that done?
That's called glue chip, and what that is a clear glass that you can actually do it in your own oven at home. that you just spread some horse glue onto the glass, and I'm not sure
Horse
the
glue.
temperature, horse glue, and as it cooks, it kind of pulls together to make these little ferns in this pattern.
Beautiful pattern.
Yes, it is. I love it.
Where are you going from here with your glass work, your creative work?
Well, I would love to continue working with the casino because they've sent me into different directions quickly, which sometimes is the best way to do.
Mm-hmm. Takes the fear out of it.
Right.
All of a sudden you're in.
So I'll work with them as long as I can, and there's an experimental glass workshop in New York City that eventually I would like to sign up for some courses down there that has to do with fusing glass, which is putting different glasses together and painting on glass.
Like blowing glass?
Yep, blowing glass.
Blowing glass.
Yeah, and different jewelry works, which I would like to get into.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can go.
Making beads.
Beads.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's the same way, I guess the blowing glass and the beadwork would be close
Yep.
to the same. Wow. Well, tell me a little bit where were you inspired? I know you said you were working as a nurse, well,
Medical
a
assistant.
medical assistant, but when were you first inspired by the glass?
I remember being a little girl. I was brought up in Westbrook, and I used to walk by this church every day and just stand in front of this huge, probably 10, 12-foot window and just stare at it for hours. It was magical to me. The colors, the way it made me feel, and I wondered how someone could ever make something so beautiful, never really stopping to think that this was an art that was still taking place today. I just thought it was a dead art that didn't exist anymore.
Beautiful art.
Yeah, and I remember my dad being down in the workshop with him, being a little girl, and watching him solder and seeing that little solder ball just roll across the table going, whoa, that is great. And it reminded me of mercury in a thermometer, and it too was magical. And when I walked into Chapman House in 1972, it just all came together. It was like, this is meant to be. I remembered all of that.
And in turn, then you met Tony,
Yes.
and he was into the stained glass already,
Yes.
also?
Yeah, he was head of the cutting department, and I was head of the soldering department at that time, and
So there was a little magic there.
we had magic. We had, it was a mixture of art, lampshades, and love, and it was a great combination. It was very magical.
Very nice. And then onward to home, family,
Yep,
and more.
yep,
More and more. It just kept coming.
yep,
That's a nice story. A lot of people out there wish that would happen to them.
yep.
How do your children feel about your work and what you're doing? Are they proud
They're
of you?
very proud of me. They're very proud of me after this last year has been extremely rough and a lot of new mountains to climb. And I'm right where I wanted to be in a lot of different ways, a little over a year later, working back with the casino. And I know Tony'd be really proud of me that I didn't give up. And my kids are very interested in stained glass too. My daughter especially, has a talent for art and comes down and she can copper tape, and they make night lights for their teachers at Christmas time.
That's great.
And my daughter just designed a dragon
Lucky teachers.
that she wants to make. So I said maybe next week I'll have a little time to do that.
That's great. Well, do you have to scout out new glass all the time for what you need, or does that one place really carry it all in New Jersey?
The one place, Benheim, has been very good. They have just hundreds and hundreds of different cases of glass, and it's difficult because glass runs in die lots. This is one of the problems we do run into it, especially if a piece gets damaged or broken, that if someone brings it back a year or 2 or 3 later, that it's really hard to match the glass sometimes because it's different dyes. It's like yarn.
So once the glass is made, that's it.
That's why I
There's
have
an
so
end
much
to it?
glass in my shop, because I try to keep a little piece of everything, but finding it is a different story.
And putting it all together into something,
Yep.
another project.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the melting process. And what you said, there's different elements in the glass, well, different minerals. Does that affect the melting?
I've noticed, I don't know a real lot about it, but I've noticed when the pieces are really hot, right after they bend, that certain colors, like the green actually changes color. It becomes almost a reddish brown compared to the pink stays pink. And, but the color comes back.
Can you add, oh, it does?
Yeah, it comes
When it
back
cools
to its
off,
original color
comes right
after
back.
it's annealed in the annealing kiln.
Can you, do you actually do any coloring with it when it's melted? In the
No,
molten stage?
no, I'm not sure if that's even possible.
I was just wondering.
No, I wonder that
Curious.
myself, because I have seen jewelry that people make that seems to have more of a iridized coating, so I think there's certain things that you can paint on the glass. I don't think you can really change the color. People have called me up to see, you know, as colors change through the years, they want to paint their lampshade. Like in the 70s, the earth tones were in, the browns and the beiges and the rusts, and now
They're too dark.
Now the pastels are in, this mother of pearl. I mean, women especially love it. And the
mauve.
pinks, the mauves, and the blues, and they want to paint their lampshades those colors. And I don't think it can be done. They have to buy a new one.
That's good.
Yes.
It's good for business. Oh, let's see, the casino is only on its, what, second stage?
They have it numbered all different phases, so I'm not sure. We just finished phase 1, but that was of the addition. You know, the original building of the casino, I think, really was named phase 1 and phase 2. But there's phases 3, 4, and 5 that the architects are working on right now, and have, you know, talked to us about possibilities in the future, you know, of the
It's larger and larger.
yeah, of the food court and
every-
different areas I don't know too much about yet, but
Now, you were telling me you were going to do some work in a church or a cathedral nearby.
possibly churches, people have contacted me about a church being built that they're going to have a whole hall full of windows that they're going to offer to people in memorial
Well,
of family members that have died. So that's a possibility
so
too.
when a person dies, the window goes up in their honor.
Right.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's a great tribute.
Yeah, that is. Do you ever think about the tones of the glass or the radiant effects of glass?
Oh, all the time. I think it's very important when you design pieces that you find colors that work well together, because I think it gives off, different colors give off different energy.
Different vibration.
Yeah, and people take these differently too, depending on who's looking at the piece. Like how they paint the walls in schools,
Right.
that ugly green color, and to keep people mellow. But all the colors make me feel great, and I've noticed, especially glass is a very unique form of art because it's shown differently. Like if you have a window set in your window, it's going to be different at night than it is during the day, because you're going to get an artificial light at night, and you're going to get natural light during the day, and artificial light with the lamps. So you're going to get all these different feelings. And I've watched my windows.
Change, yes.
You can have the sun shining on it, and a cloud will go by, and all of a sudden it feels like the window's moving. It picks up motion, and all of a sudden there's this burst of color. And I have some peacocks in my bedroom that I wake up every morning, you know, with the sun just shining on it, and there's these peacocks that are kissing in front of a moon. And I just sit there and I smile. It makes me feel so good because that moon is just lit up. It's great.
Beautiful. Yeah, you have quite a bit of work at your house. I
Yes.
was amazed. Beautiful. It glows everywhere. All the
Yeah.
windows shine. And,
Yep.
do you get a lot of private buyers coming to you?
Yeah, more and more as time goes on. We, you know, definitely dealt with the lamps in the beginning. That was our steady income, and
Did you do the craft shows and
we did some.
everything?
We did some, but I had 2 little kids at that point, and And the lamps were very popular at that point in the 70s. So we had these two distributors, Hartford Industries and Hart Stained Glass, that really basically took everything we could make at that point. So there wasn't a need to do craft shows. And we still did the windows with private buyers. A Touch of Glass up in Moodus displays a lot of our windows. He was one of our main buyers for windows. And we got a lot of custom orders from him.
Mm-hmm. So you haven't had to do the main line hard sell?
Not yet. I've done a few shows, but people don't normally come to especially craft shows unless it's a high caliber art show or, you know, a showing at a gallery. I've done a few of those.
You do the gallery scene?
I've done a few, and I passed out a lot of cards, and people do get back to me, but it's mainly for exposure, to let people know that that glass is an art form, that there's a lot of tacky crafts out there that have turned a lot of people off to glass.
You gotta stick to the quality.
Yes.
So how do the art shows ever really come back at you, or is it just very much show?
People come back.
They do?
I've done shows that I give between 200 and 500 cards out, and people do come back.
And if just one comes back,
That's right.
that's I don't know where. Let's see. Where should we go from here? Tell me about, what does it do for your spirit? This is the spirit of art.
Well, it does for my spirit. It's difficult at times because you have to be totally committed. It has to be a love, and if that love isn't there, it won't work. There's a lot you have to give up, a lot of hours that if you work for yourself, there's no 9 to 5. I mean, there's been nights at 2, 3 in the morning I'm down there still working, and especially when it's in your own home, you don't just go upstairs and forget about it. You know, you're up and down those stairs a lot of times with your dinner on a plate and sitting at your table, working with one hand and eating with the other. But it's basically made me feel good about who I am. I've followed my dream. I've done it with, you know, the person I was married to, which was really extra special. It was hard at some times. Yep, to live and to work with the person all day and all night.
Must have been tough.
Tough at some times, but very rewarding in others.
So do you have any advice for other people coming up through that are investing their time or thoughts into the glass?
I think it's a very rewarding art form, and it's a great way to show expression of who you are and to build your self-confidence when you sit back and you look at this piece that you've created. I'm helping a friend of mine right now, and he's designed a window last night of his motorcycle. And it's just so great to sit back and, you know, to have a half hour, an hour of silence in the room, and then to look over and to see this person just glowing at, you know, what he's creating, you know. And that, it just feels so good to share that.
So it's special for them.
Yes, and for me to be able to give that part of me something that I can do and to share that. And I would just say that people should continue to, you know, even if they work a 9 to 5 job, it's so rewarding to have a little hobby like this, you know, and to go down in your studio or your shop and spend time like this instead of sitting in front of the TV or video games, and to be creative, to get your mind working and to get that feeling of who you are and that expression to come out. And you just sit back and your self-esteem is built.
Right. You're slowly building it steady all the time as each piece of glass goes in.
Yeah.
The puzzle.
That's right.
And do you ever dabble or go into any other art forms?
I haven't had time in this last year between learning how to cut the glass and...
It's too busy.
Yeah, I've just really been too busy, but I hope to continue. I want to stay with this art form for a while. I really enjoy it.
Excellent. And you do a beautiful job.
Thanks, Jim.
No, you really do. It's
Thanks.
quite amazing. But we're about finishing up right now.
Okay.
Is there any last words you'd like to throw in there for inspiration?
Just, to follow your dreams, to follow your heart, in any phase of your life, what feels good is worth pursuing. And that goes for children as well as adults. And it's made me feel real good about what I've done.
Well, thank you for sharing it with us.
Thanks.
Glad to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it.
This has been Art Talk. I'm your host, Jim Tripp, in the spirit of art. Thank you for joining us.